I'm Jonathan from Rupert Neve Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to set up and use your new Master Bus Converter. The Rupert Neve Designs Master Bus Converter was designed to expand the sonic possibilities of analog to digital conversion. As the last piece of gear in your analog recording chain, it helps you create digital recordings and mixes of the very highest quality. From tracking kick and snare to recording delicate acoustic guitar and piano or printing your final mix, the Master Bus Converter provides the highest sound quality and most precise control over your recordings. You will need a variety of cables. For the input side, you'll either need a pair of XLR line balanced cables or a pair of 1/4 inch TRS balanced cables. For this example, we're going to use the XLRs. For the digital outputs, depending on your console, interface, or network, you either need an AES 110 ohm balanced cable or a 75 ohm coaxial SPDIF RCA cable or a Toslink optical cable. You can have all three hooked up at the same time, feeding different destinations. If you want to use the Master Bus Converter as a digital clock for your entire digital system, you'll need a BNC 75 ohm word clock cable and hook that to the word clock out. If you want to sync the Master Bus Converter to an external word clock or master clock, you'll need a 75 ohm BNC cable as well, connected to the word clock in. And remember to engage the word clock on the front panel. Once you've connected the input from a balanced line source, which could be a console, a summing mixer, some microphone preamps, or another piece of gear, you can set the sample rate on the Master Bus Converter. The sample rate is selectable from 44.1 kilohertz all the way up to 192 kilohertz. You'll want to make sure that your sample rate matches the destination, which could be a DAW session, a console, an interface, or a network. Double check the device that's receiving signal from the MBC to make sure that the sample rate matches and you're actually receiving signal. You need to set the digital reference level. This is how much level it is in dBu or analog voltage to drive the Master Bus Converter to 0 dB full scale, commonly referred to as 0 dBFS. This usually depends on your workflow, the amount of level that your other analog gear can provide, and the amount of headroom that you prefer. Broadcasters often choose -20 dBFS, which is in fact the AES and Dolby standard. And broadcasters in the EU often use the EBU standard of -18 dBFS, but yet other engineers may prefer -16 or -14 dBFS. Generally, you'll want to establish unity gain throughout the entire analog to digital back to analog loop. Selecting your digital reference level is as simple as hitting the ADC Cal button. Let's explore the Master Bus Converter's tonal possibilities. You can switch between a transformerless path and the custom Rupert Neve transformers by hitting the Transformer In button. With the Transformer In selected, the inputs to the converter are fed from our custom transformers, which include our very special silk and texture circuitry. Next, you should try experimenting with silk red or silk blue, and then vary the texture amount to see what sound you prefer on your mixes or the program material you're recording. Then hit the Transformer In switch and see what it sounds like with the transformerless path. Generally, the transformer path will have more harmonics in the low frequencies and low mid frequencies and a slightly smoother high end. Also, the transformerless path might have a little bit more clarity, especially in the extreme high and low frequencies. While Rupert's custom transformers are a defining characteristic of the sound that he's justifiably famous for, the Class A circuitry in the transformerless path provides a very sweet sound on its own. The beauty of the Master Bus Converter is that you can choose the path and the tone that you want to get the sound you've been seeking for your recordings and your music. Remember, because the silk circuitry is part of the transformer path, you'll not be able to hear it without the transformer being in. Now, let's explore the very special limiter in the Master Bus Converter. Switch the limiter on and bring the threshold down a few dB below 0 dBFS. This is usually a good place to start to control peak transients and increase overall level without clipping the digital converters. Remember to set both channels to the same positions if you're working with stereo program material. The next setting we're going to adjust is the limiter release control. Faster release times could cause the limiter to pump more dramatically, while slower release times are usually smoother. Next, you can bring up the input gain control. And remember, this is actually before the limiter. So when you reach the limiter threshold, the limiter will start to affect the amount of actual gain that you are increasing. Remember that most of these settings are pretty subjective, so you may want to bypass the limiter to make sure it's doing the right thing for your recording. For stereo operation, you can link channel A and channel B. Remember to set both controls to the same positions. You may find that this has a more stable center image, but you may also find, depending on the program material, that it is a wider stereo image with them unlinked. If your program material contains a lot of low frequencies, you may want to engage the sidechain high-pass filter and sweep it up to, say, 125 Hz as a starting place. This doesn't cut any low frequencies from your program, but what it does do is keep the low frequencies from triggering the limiter. Much like the release setting, the audibility of the sidechain high-pass filter is affected by how much limiting you're actually doing. So, as you approach 0 dB FS, you may want to sweep the frequency position up or down, or try bypassing the limiter. As with all the other limiter settings, when you're working with stereo program material, you want to make sure that the sidechain high-pass filter is set the same in both channels. Now it's time for you to start recording. Remember, if you want to learn more about all our gear, please go to rupertneve.com and feel free to contact us with any questions. Please enjoy your new Master Bus Converter